Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Click and Mortar podcast. I'm Mike Patterson. This is my partner, Dustin Trout, here again for talking points for B2B marketing, digital advertising marketing. We want to talk this week about the metrics you should be tracking, and specifically the metrics you should be tracking at certain parts of your ad funnel. If that doesn't make any sense, I'll give you a little background on that. There's top of the funnel, there's middle of the funnel, there's bottom of the funnel. There's different kinds of creatives at those parts of the funnel. You can check out another one of our podcasts for details on that. But we want to talk about at those parts, in those parts of your funnel, what metrics are important? What are actually going to impact your bottom line? What should you be tracking? And if you're not tracking, we're here to help you to track it. It's a little bit of a public service announcement of we do a lot of dashboard build and tracking as well, so we can revisit that at the end of the conversation. But for now, I want to kick it over to Dustin to talk about what metrics you should be tracking at certain parts of your funnel. So Dustin, take it away.
I think before we dive into that, the why, I think is some good context. And we'll get into a lot of conversations where we're looking at why is the cost per video view so high? And when we look at it, it's the bottom part of the funnel where that's not the right metric to look at. So really the goal is to educate what metrics do we really need to look at each part of the funnel. And really to look at it, it's three different phases. You have awareness. Once someone's aware, get them interested. Once they're interested, get them to convert. So if we think it's simply in those terms, the top of the funnel, we need interest. And this is typically where we'll use a lot of video. And here we'll really look at CPMs. Is it cheap to reach, these audiences? But we'll really look, especially with video, on view rate. How are we getting, or what's the cost per view, or what's the percent they get to 100% complete? So this is where we really look at, dwell engagement, how much engagement is happening. And so we don't look at cost per lead, cost per conversion, and in our media plans, it's reflective, and we have some conversation around this of, well, why would we even run that if it's 10x the cost per lead? And really the top of the funnel is audience building. And so what metrics align with, are we reaching a large audience efficiently? And are they engaging effectively? And that's where CPMs and view rates, click-through rates, if you're running, display or traditional graphics, or comment rates will be what we look at, because this is what feeds the next part of the funnel. We want cheap audiences. And so those are typically the KPIs that we look at the top part of the funnel.
Okay, so to reiterate, at the top part of the funnel, you're looking for audience building, which could be video views, and then you said engagement rate too. There's actual views or clicks, and there's the engagement rates, which is view through rate.
Yep, the view through rate, the consumption, and both will tell you, is this the right creative for the right audience? And the view through rate, if it's very low, people are swiping and not watching, so that tells you we either have the wrong audience or we're saying the wrong thing to the right audience. So that can help you identify, do we need different audiences, or do we need better creative, or introduce better creative? And then the engagement rate, how are people engaging? So it really helps us identify, are we reaching the right audiences and saying the right things, which is very much that, top of funnel goal is awareness. Reach more people and reach them effectively and get your message across.
We have exposed people to our brand. Now we want to get deeper engagement, deeper interest. We talk about that at the middle of the funnel from a creative perspective. Again, that could be more video. That could be a carousel. That could be a product carousel. That could be a number of things. However, there are a different set of metrics we're looking at, right? So at the middle of the funnel, when we want people to express interest, what are we looking at?
So a lot of this, this is where we start getting into more static graphics, shorter, very call to action videos. But really the main goal here is, now that we have engagement, we have eyeballs, let's get them to our main asset, which is our website. So here we're really looking at click-through rate. Are we saying the right thing to the right audience? But really, cost per click is a big one. The cheaper we can get more people to the website, the more people fill that bottom of the funnel audience that convert. So we're really looking at click-through rate and then cost per click and also dwell time. So we can be driving the cheapest clicks, but are they bouncing right away? So we really look at time on site, engagement rate on site, form starts, are people clicking call buttons? So it's more, are we getting people to the website cheaper? And are they in a more engaged audience? So click-through rate, cost per click, and engagement rates on site are the biggest KPIs that we really look at to see, are we being effective at this part of the funnel?
Totally makes sense, right? So you've exposed somebody to who you are and what you do. Now you're trying to gauge interest. So you're trying to drive them somewhere to then get a level of interest from them. So what's the cost per click? For those of you who are not familiar with digital metrics, that's CPC. What's cost per click? And then what's click-through rate as well? That's CTR, click-through rate. We're looking at that as well. And then since we've driven interest and we have people on site where we want them to go, or at least initially land, from a retail perspective, the equivalent is they've walked down the street, they're aware of your store, now they've walked into your store. What are they doing? Are they engaged while they're in the store, or are they just kind of looking around and leaving? So we've created interest. We know the metrics that we need to track to create interest or to gauge whether or not we're creating interest. What's next?
Yep. So now we've identified those engaged shoppers. They're going down multiple aisles. They're looking at products. They got a full cart. So this is where we get to the bottom of the funnel. And this is where 99.9% of people focus on. And really, it's going in for that ask. The buy now, here's an offer, buy one, get one. Here's really the value add of why you should buy. But these are really the buy now and where you're really trying to drive that conversion. And really, only thing we really focus on here is cost per conversion, conversion rate, and ROI. So conversions are going to let us know, are people purchasing? Cost per conversion is going to let us know, are we doing it efficiently? And then that ROI piece, which is, it takes a great partnership to uncover this. Like, we can't do it alone, but when we do, this now gets us not just volume, but the quantity of sales, because we don't just want a lot of low ticket sales. We want, people spending lots of money. So those are the three metrics we look at. We really don't even care about click-through rate. We'll pay 10x the cost per click if we know that it's converting 20x stronger and our ROI is stronger. So all of it is audience building up above to just get down to the bottom and then really focus on that conversion rate and ROI.
And we are getting into, on this podcast, the metrics that you should be tracking at each part of your funnel. Obviously, there's ways to optimize these metrics at each part of the funnel. We have another podcast on that, and we'll lean more into that as well. So what happens is, okay, great, I got these metrics lined up, and I know what I'm tracking at each part. Then you kind of stare at it for a while, and you're like, okay, well, what do I do now to make this better? So that's a whole nother conversation. For now, we hope that gives you a good summary and rundown of the metrics you should be tracking at each part of the funnel. And Dustin, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say the thing that kind of brought this up and really to educate on that front, what to focus on is a lot of people focus on just conversion rate at that bottom part of the funnel, where that is very hard to 10x. It's hard to go from a 2 to a 20% conversion rate. Like, typically you're only going to get up to a 6% if everything is humming along. Flip it on its head, and instead at the very top, if we have 10-cent video views and we're seeing a decent ROI, what if we just made better videos and got 1-cent video views? Now you just 10x'd the amount of traffic that, or users that are going through your funnel, and now that's just 10x the volume that's going to convert. So many people just focus on landing page and conversion rate that look at the top part of the funnel and are we getting people to actually view, and what are the economics there? Because more times than not, you have a good little funnel set up, but it's just, if you had a little bit better creative, you could 10x the number of sales just by reducing the cost per view from 15 cents down to 2 cents, all without even focusing on page engagement. What offers are we doing, which all take a lot of critical thinking to do, execute, and report on. So just want to kind of throw that in there.
Sometimes people talk about vanity metrics at the top of the funnel. Hey, I got this many impressions. Hey, my CPM is this, etc. The bottom line, a lot of people look at the bottom line and go, wait, what are your sales? Like, what's going on with sales? Well, think about it. If you can spend the same dollar and get 10x the amount of people, and your conversion rate at the bottom of the funnel is still the same, do the math. You're going to have 10x,
10x
conversions, right? You just 10x your return there. So that is why these metrics at different parts of the funnel is critical. And Dustin makes a great point because he's in there doing this all the time with our team. How do we optimize these different pieces at different parts of the funnel? So hopefully the structure helps you all to decide and to determine and get in place the things you want to measure and need to measure. And then you can start talking about moving the needle in these different buckets and how you do that. So with that, we're gonna wrap for now. We do a lot of dashboard building and metrics laying out and strategic assessment of how you're tracking, what you're tracking, are you tracking enough? Many, many times when we get new clients into our fold, these are the first pieces we need to work on. So we also like to work on this with folks too. So if you want to schedule a call to go over this and review this information as well, or just do a deep dive into your metrics and what you're tracking, what you're not tracking, the data signals you're getting is hugely important. It's like having a well-calibrated compass before you set out on the sail. If you don't, you're going to get lost from the beginning of the journey. So Dustin, any last words before we check out?
Know what to track and come up with a plan on how to make them better. You'll do better.
I love it. We're getting these great little sound clips at the end of the podcast from Dustin. Checking out. So thank you all for watching. Until next time, we'll catch you on the Click and Mortar podcast on the flip side, and we'll talk soon.